You open an airlock, no suit, just you in your regular clothes staring out at black. Movies have told you what happens next. Your body swells up like a balloon. Your eyes pop out. Blood boils out of your skin, and you explode in a fine red mist before anyone can even scream your name. None of that is true. The real answer is far stranger, and in some ways, much worse. Because you would not die instantly. You would stay conscious, aware, and thinking clearly for almost 15 seconds. 15 seconds to watch it happen to you. Your first problem is not your skin, it is your lungs. If you exhale before the door opens, you have a chance. If you hold your breath out of instinct, the pressure difference between the vacuum outside and the air still trapped inside your chest can tear the tissue of your lungs apart. This is called pulmonary barotrauma, and it happens fast, within seconds. Why does this happen at all? Because air pressure is not just something you feel, it is something your entire body depends on to stay in one piece. On Earth, the atmosphere pushes in on you from every direction, roughly 14 pounds per square inch. You never notice it because you have never lived without it. Take that pressure away instantly, and everything inside you that contains gas starts trying to expand outward. Your body is mostly water, and water under enough of a pressure drop does something called ebulism. It is not boiling from heat, it is boiling because the pressure holding it in liquid form has vanished. Saliva on your tongue will begin to bubble. Moisture in your eyes will do the same. Your skin, tough and elastic, will hold your body together and keep you from swelling to twice your size. But the soft, wet tissues exposed directly to vacuum, your eyes, your mouth, the lining of your lungs, start to change almost immediately. Here is the part that surprises most people. You do not freeze. Space is often described as unbearably cold, and it is, but cold only transfers through contact or through matter, like air or water. Vacuum has almost no matter in it. There is nothing there to pull the heat out of your body quickly. You would lose heat slowly, through radiation, the same way a campfire warms you from a few feet away. Freezing is not what kills you. Something else moves much faster. Around 10 seconds in, your blood starts telling a different story. With no external pressure, the nitrogen already dissolved in your blood begins forming bubbles, similar to what deep sea divers experience when they surface too quickly. Doctors call this decompression sickness. In the vacuum of space, it happens almost instantly, and it happens everywhere in your body at once. At the same time, your brain runs out of options. Without pressure, your lungs cannot pull in oxygen even if there were air to breathe, because gas exchange in your lungs depends on that pressure difference to work. Within about 9 to 11 seconds, deoxygenated blood reaches your brain and you lose consciousness. Not because you suffocate in the way you imagine, gasping and struggling, but because your body simply runs out of pressure to keep the process working at all. How do scientists actually know any of this? Because it has happened before, on Earth, inside a lab. In 1965, a NASA engineer named Jim LeBlanc was testing a spacesuit inside a vacuum chamber at the Johnson Space Center when his suit's pressure hose disconnected. The chamber depressurized around him to roughly the equivalent of 128,000 feet, close to a true vacuum. LeBlanc later described the last thing he felt before losing consciousness: the saliva on his tongue starting to boil. He said it did not hurt, it just felt strange, like fizzing. Engineers rushed to repressurize the chamber, and LeBlanc was unconscious for about 14 seconds before air pressure was restored. He recovered fully, with no lasting damage. 14 seconds. That number is not a guess. It is a measured, documented human experience, and it lines up almost exactly with what physiologists predict using the science of rapid decompression. NASA flight surgeon Dr. Jonathan Clark has spent years studying what happens to the human body during high altitude and vacuum exposure, largely because of his work investigating the loss of the Space Shuttle Columbia crew. His research, along with earlier studies on animals exposed to near vacuum conditions in the 1960s, all points to the same conclusion. Useful consciousness lasts around 9 to 12 seconds. After that, the body is still alive, technically, for a short while longer, but the mind is already gone. So if you were thrown out that airlock with no suit, here is what your last moments would actually look like. a sharp ache in your ears and sinuses as trapped gas expands, a strange fizzing feeling on your tongue and in your eyes. Your vision starting to gray out from the edges inward, like a camera losing focus, as blood flow to your brain fails. And then, nothing. Not pain, not panic, just an ending that arrives quieter than anything Hollywood has ever shown you. And here's the twist almost nobody expects. If someone could get you back inside a pressurized environment within about 90 seconds, even after you have lost consciousness, even after your body has started to swell slightly and your skin has bruised from ruptured capillaries, you would very likely survive. Animal studies from early aerospace research, including tests conducted by the U.S. Air Force in the 1950s using vacuum chambers, showed that primates exposed to near vacuum for under 2 minutes recovered with no permanent injury once repressurized and given oxygen. The body, it turns out, is far more resilient to this specific kind of trauma than fiction gives it credit for. Space does not need to erase you instantly. It only needs about a minute and a half of neglect. This changes the way you should think about the phrase exposed to space. It is not an instant death sentence. It is a countdown, a short, brutal, survivable countdown if help arrives fast enough. Think about how strange that is. The thing standing between you and the vacuum of space right now reading this is not some enormous force field. It is a whisper-thin envelope of pressure, invisible, silent, and completely taken for granted. Every breath you have ever taken worked because trillions of gas molecules were pressing against your body just hard enough to let your lungs do their job. You never asked them to. They just did, and it goes further than spacecraft and airlocks. Your body carries a version of this vulnerability with you everywhere. Deep sea divers surfacing too fast experience a milder version of the same nitrogen bubble problem that would hit you in vacuum. Pilots and skydivers at extreme altitude deal with smaller scale pressure crises for the same reason. You live your entire life inside a narrow, forgiving window of pressure and temperature, and you almost never think about how narrow it actually is because it has never once failed you. That is the real reframe here. Space is not some alien, hostile place trying to kill you with violence and drama. It is simply the absence of something you have never had to earn, something Earth gives you for free every single second without asking for anything back. The moment that gift disappears, your body does not explode. It does not shatter. It just quietly runs out of the one condition it was built around. You opened an airlock at the start of this. No suit, just you staring out at black. Now you know what that black actually is. Not violence, not an explosion, just the sudden, total absence of the thing that was holding you together the entire time. The thing you were never given a reason to notice until now.